Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm Mario here. We are back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of My Little Pony Harmony Quest for the iOS/Android devices. So, last time we did manage to still collecting ourselves some more stained glass window pieces for each character, and today for this episode is the fact that we're gonna have to do exactly the same thing, but in forms of how the fact that we're pretty much almost nearly towards the end of the not only the stained glass window pieces collecting, but also due to how the fact that eventually that we're about to be coming across into the other half of the the elements of Harmony themselves. So even though that still we got a long way to go, but even though that as far as you guys can clearly tell, my eventually in the later couple of videos of this particular Let's Play can go a little bit more longer now, just because of how the fact that we just want to get this game finished before, let's just say a special celebration of the forms of the Maxi Toys 7th year anniversary event, which as you normally expected that it might be, launching until, the 16th of February. See, Fernando, that we need to actually, finish this game Let's Play first before we jump into this particular event. But even then though, we'll definitely have to hurry this up though until that event will happen. So anywho, so here we go, we meet again with the forms of the Cloudsdale location again. But this time we have to grab ourselves the, I'm presuming the goggles type of stained glass window piece for Rainbow Dash, because that's what she normally uses, but in forms of the Wonderbolt Academy for, specifically for the Wonderbolts themselves. So anyway though, I guess we should probably mention about this for quite a lot of things though, actually. First off, we'd like to point things out is that, well, there's not much else we can actually just try to say for this point of view, besides the actual point where, recently that, you know the My Little Pony Season 8, that, we've already established that for the forms of the beginning parts of this Let's Play. Now they finally got the release date, specifically in North America, because America got the actual season first, before us. But even then though, that the release date on that particular Season 8 will finally become in forms of at some point in March. Very much like how it does it in Season 6 back in 2016. Which even then though, this is more likely an odd pattern here when it comes to able to releasing, let's just say go back to 2015. They've managed to firstly release Season 5 in April. And then in 2015, obviously, Sonic. Oh yeah, I've already known that. And then also they've released Season 6 in the forms of March 2016. And then Season 7 came out in the forms of April 2017. And then now we ended up back in March again, but in forms of 2018. So at least it can happen next month alongside with Kirby Star Allies for the Nintendo Switch. In addition to Detective Pikachu as well. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited for this kinds of stuff to be like this happens to be quite frank here. So, anyway though, and I'm just, I'm still looking forward to Season 8 comes out to that one point or another, but hey, at least it's still exciting as always. So anyways, let's insert this cloud platform so that we can purposely try to walk across, that's all we can really do. So anyway though, and we're gonna have to beat the likes of the Changeling yet again. But then, next thing you notice is that we got to do the exact same thing over and over again. So yeah, you get the idea. Alrighty then, so now we've got 2 more stained glass window pieces for Rainbow Dash here. I could expecting so, because even then though, between each of these ponies right here, then naturally we've only got 3 more left for each character at this point. So, let's go back to Ponyville right here, but in forms of getting ourselves the pet companion for Applejack, most likely. I believe her name was actually in forms of Wolfer the dog. I'm considering if I must have guessed that name correctly, because even then, that's why I could really just try and discuss upon those kinds of things like that. So, here we go, let's go ahead and chase after him, but in forms of, in Ponyville Town. So, yeah, can't wait until that usually turns out to be with Season 8. So, I'm considering that it contains what, much like any other seasons at this point, the only exception being Season 3, probably due to, Equestria Girls is happening in 2013. But naturally, though, that we've once again got ourselves 26 episodes, so we still keep on going about the 26 episodes, which much like how it does it in Sonic Boom TV series, but at least in that show, that it does have 52 episodes in each of the seasons at this point. But even then though, this just kind of feels a bit, you know, odd to say the least. I know, Mario, but this is probably due to how the fact that, you know, release dates can usually happen sometimes, but even then though, that's all we can actually come across into at this point in time. So anyway though, there's actually another thing I was really excited for this point actually, and that was in forms of how the fact that recently, a couple of days ago, thanks to, the forms of the Disney D23 Expo in 2018 in Japan, recently they've got themselves some brand new information upon Kingdom Hearts 3 at long last, by the forms of how the fact that they've now recently added in yet another world. But not just a brand new world, but in forms of a second Pixar world. Like, first we actually got Toy Story World, has already been confirmed last year, and now in this year that we've now finally got Monsters Inc. World. So, yeah, that's actually really interesting to say much for that, because even then though, that between those two franchises of the Pixar worlds at one point, I was really hyped for those two, because even then though, I really enjoyed Monsters Inc., and especially noticeable with the Toy Story trilogy at one point. And, still we can't wait until Toy Story 4 is about to be revealed during next year. But even then though, as far as I really should be expecting for the next couple of trailers, will be there on its way though. So anyway, so yeah, you know how the fact that, yesterday that we've now finally got ourselves My Little Pony the movie on DVD at this one point. As far as I've noticed from the UK version of that particular film at standpoint, as far as I've noticed, the thing is that unlike in any other UK DVD releases, specifically, like, for example, most recent Disney films, like Hercules, Aladdin, and especially the Pixar films especially, always attempt to have that high-pitched music right here. Especially noticeable with the DreamWorks films as well. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about those films actually. But even then, those kinds of films do usually have the high-pitched, you know, music tone from the PAL version of this particular DVD, specifically the UK releases. But somehow the My Little Pony the movie 2017 version doesn't actually have a high-pitched tone to it because, well, obviously taking a notice from Tarzan and Chicken Run, that both of those films actually retains the low music tone to it, which even then though, that could be the same applies to My Little Pony the movie. So that was about 3 films that we've got, funny forms of how different the sound direction is. But even then though, that it's been like where, I don't know about you, I think this is probably due to any other Lionsgate films, specifically based off from kid stuff, that's more likely due to that. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, that could be the same applies to Paddington 1, and especially with Shaun the Sheep the movie. Speaking of such though, that the USA version on the DVD opening of the forms of that film I was talking about, it does contain Shaun the Sheep the movie in the forms of the USA version of the actual DVD release for My Little Pony the movie. This is probably due to how the fact that compared to the UK version of the forms of Shaun the Sheep the movie, and especially noticeable with the American version of that film, normally in the UK version it's being developed by Studio Canal, especially Aardman Studios of course, but then the USA version actually has an additional company they've actually added in, and that was the forms of, well, Lionsgate. That could be the same applies from Early Man as well, but even then though, that was actually kind of appealing to me. And that could be also same applies for, well, I would say Paddington 1 and 2, that the UK version is only developed by, well, Heyday Films first, and also Studio Canal. But the North American version of those two films in mind, those two have been developed by Warner Brothers, which even then, I don't know why they actually put in, well, Warner Brothers in the first place though, but even then though, that, yeah. So as you can see right there, I don't know if you noticed for this point folks, that we've now managed to revisiting the Crystal Empire, or in this case the Crystal Palace if you will, to be able to actually obtain the cupcake stained glass window for Pinkie Pie for that particular piece we need to obtain. So naturally everything else checks out there for the most part. So in regardless of more piece of information, we'd love to be able to talk for this point, but yeah, it's just I'm really excited about the fact that, you know, Monsters Inc. World is now finally made its debut on the Kingdom Hearts 3 now. And as far as I've noticed right off the get-go is that Vanitas, the main, well, the secondary villain from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep will make a return. Which even then though, that was like, oh snap! Yeah, which makes me wonder about the fact that this is the reason why I'm going to be doing the Kingdom Hearts marathon, starting with the first game. I need to definitely get back into that game for some reason though, because even then though, the only downside for this though is the fact that you, Mario, on the other hand, you're always trying to concentrate on NES remakes so far. Well, granted I've decided to take a break on that game due to how ridiculous those challenges were. Yeah, I totally understand for that one point right there, Mario. But even then, still, I can't really, jump into it right now at this point. Alright, so now we're done with that, and let's go ahead and go back to, let's go for Everfree Forest, or in this case, just, the Canterlot, if you should say so, Sonic. Oh yeah, I totally misleading for that one point or another, I do apologize for that point. So anyways, now we've returned to Canterlot for about, I don't know how much times that we actually revisited this place, might be a 5th time? Well, let's just say the 5th time in a row. At least it's for my consumption. So anyways, and the stained glass window piece we need to obtain is the forms of, you know, this little friendship balloon that always shows up in every single part of the intro of the actual show itself. That's how it's actually the representation of how the fact that every time when Twilight Sparkle and Spike the Dragon especially, they always attempt to hop onto the friendship balloon, because that's what the object of that particular balloon is actually known as, so... yeah, that's all I can cover. Yeah, I apologize if there's really awkward, silence going on here with the commentary and everything. This is probably due to how the fact that we didn't get a cold and everything, it's just a matter of the fact that, naturally, it's kind of hard to actually speak sometimes whenever you know how this works when you're trying to do commentary and all that stuff, is that, you know, if you talk quite a lot of stuff in mind, that, sometimes you might accidentally choke yourself and stuff like that, especially if you're actually eating a grape still, but even then, that can get pretty extreme. Now, originally, we're trying to get, My Little Pony the movie 2017 as the forms of the triple pack, by the forms of, you know, the Blu-ray and DVD and digital download. But, the only thing is, though, is the fact that I'm pretty much okay with, the DVD release, actually, because not only because it actually retains the, not the most amazing quality that we've ever expected for a DVD like that, but even then, though, that I'm pretty much okay with the sound direction, actually, because it's way better than the likes, like, say, the high-pitched version of that particular, voices themselves, because even then, though, that... well, thanks to that Tiny Pop channel that managed to take over for the actual show, which even then though, let's just go say that right about now. Oh yeah, Kippy's same applies to any other Friendship is Magic DVDs, Mario, don't forget. Oh, right, exactly. Now how the fact that these sound direction for that department, well, the only 3 exceptions which the forms of, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Why is the down arrow still shown up? I think this is probably due to the fact that, again, every time when we swipe the screens between up and down, or in this case the top portion of the screen, or the bottom part of the screen, sometimes it gets really distracting at one point, but even then, we don't mind about it too much, but still, it can get really, nauseating at points. Alright, so we've got ourselves the hot air balloon, or, for that matter, for I should say so from earlier ago, the friendship balloon. So, naturally, we've now got that. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back to Everfree Forest, shall we? Yeah, after when you say that from earlier ago. Unfortunately, there's not much, replacements we can able to actually go through, besides, you know, just do a little bit of a shuffling, really. Or shuffleware, we should say. So, there we go, now we can actually proceed here. And let's get into it. So, we need to get ourselves... I'm presuming this might be a concert conduct staff from the forms of how the fact that when Fluttershy uses that in the forms of, I won't classify for saying from the likes of the Canterlot wedding episode, if I'm at least expecting that. But anyways though, so let's go ahead and place those tree branches into this particular tree itself. So naturally, everything else should be just as fine as it will be. So, Because naturally, though, that every single part throughout is that the levels themselves can get a little bit more longer now. Because even then, though, that, you know, every time you actually come across into these news segments, notice that, you know, expecting these levels can get a little bit more longer. Well, at least, segments, or in this case, sections, if you will. Yeah, because, normally, that the level itself is exactly the same, but, the level length is completely different between one or another. I think it might actually talk about, like, I would say 4 minutes and stuff like that. It only depends on how the fact that if you become faster enough, then you expecting you would able to actually, beat these levels fast. Well, unless if you actually turn off the narration off, or especially noticeable, well, it's most likely turn off the narration off, which makes the game even a little bit more tapping more faster. But still, that's just for my predictions though anyway, that's just all I can tell. And, I think there's actually another thing we'd like to discuss upon is that apparently, that, by the forms of, some Twitter, person guy, that managed to describe the forms of there's going to be a next Nintendo Switch game that's about to be developed at the moment, and that was the forms of Mario Party 11, which, once again, NDCube is going to be taking over for this kind of stuff, which some people might find it really upsetting, and some people think they might be extremely disappointed with how the fact that NDCube was once again going to be able to actually take in charge of Mario Party 11 was going to be developed for the Nintendo Switch. So, and it's expecting, they might be expecting to be releasing that game by the forms of 2019, which even then though, we only got about a year or so even then it won't be as long as compared to how it does it for the forms of, well, I think if I recall correctly though, Mario, I can expecting that this will be announced during the likes of the E3 this year, so even then if that's the case, then expecting that we have to wait for about a year or so, you're gonna be kidding me, there's no sound. We definitely have to fix that after this level is finished, so I don't know if you noticed right off the get-go that we've totally wrong about this in the last video. It's something to do with the forms of charging our phone up. I think it's what usually happens was though, is I'm presuming that sometimes our capture screen option doesn't allow me to able to actually record the sound direction even a little bit longer. So we'll definitely have to fix for this point, so we'll meet you guys for just a second here. Okay, we managed to do a jump cut right there, and we've managed to fix the sound. So even then though, everything else has been fully in dory. So, in addition to that though, Mario, that we've also managed to charge up our phone up, so just in case we'd be able to do not lose our progressioning for the forms of, you know, trying to able to actually concentrate on, you know, you get the idea. Alright, so let's get going by the forms of returning back to Manhattan once again, by the forms of obtaining the Zoe machine, by the forms of Rarity Stained Glass window, which is by the fact that's usually the case. Alright, so I do really like this tune theme though. It's actually heavily borrowed from Mario Party 6 called Fair Square, which to me that was actually one of my favorite boards in Mario Party 6, because even then though that not just because of the actual tone or the theme rather, because it makes perfect fit for this particular environment, as you can see we're in Manhattan right there. Speaking of such though, is that most of those locations in the actual Friendship is Magic show is more likely takes place in almost like a almost very similar to the America, because even then though that normally we've got, well, obviously Manhattan, which is obviously based off from the city from the America somewhere, and especially noticeable with Los Pegasus, which is based off from Las Vegas and stuff like that, or Los Angeles or something like that, as well as the Vancouver, which I think is something related to between America and Canada, which even then though that could be some consumption. Anyways, let's go ahead and navigate Rainbow Dash through those little thorns, and yeah, everything else should be good to go. Okay then, so let's go ahead and continue, and hopefully not too many issues with it whatsoever, besides, you know, just trying to able to actually just get on with these kinds of stuff. So anyway, in addition to, well, you know, the My Little Pony the movie 2017 is just released today, or in this case yesterday even, sorry. Also the Pokemon, the movie I Choose You, in this case Pokemon the movie 20, which is in forms of the remake of the forms of the first ever episode of the actual Pokemon animated series, but in forms of how the fact they actually did manage to celebrate the actual episode, but remade it in forms of for the first time in HD first, and in addition to actually recreate the voice, which even then though, that's what it usually does that in forms of you know, in remakes usually does that nowadays. Even though they're trying to make it something a little bit more fresher and new, and at the same time trying to make a new twist to it. So I wonder if how the fact that we could actually able to come across into a next remake game eventually on Nintendo Switch at one point. I know, sure, we've got well, obviously we haven't got as many remake ports as far as we're concerned. The only few exceptions, which are, you know, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is exactly like how it does in the Wii U counterparts, but just add in Funky Kong, which, by the way, Funky Kong is a playable character in the forms of, you know, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. He's easily broken, which even then, as far as I've realized about something, because normally that's how it usually does for the beginners, usually having a lot of trouble with the most hardest, or in this case, difficult games throughout. But then somehow this throws in with the easiest character of them all, and then all of a sudden they just throws into one another. Alright, so now we've actually upgraded into our playable characters department, because now we can actually now add in 5 ponies all in once. So, interesting. So even though we're going back into Ponyville yet again, but it forms about the fact that we're now actually going to go ahead and obtain the windmill piece, but it forms off, well, based off from Ponyville, obviously. And every now and then, that the levels themselves are going to be a lot longer. So, don't expect it for appreciation of how the fact that we have to do the exact same stuff again, but usually I don't mind it too much, because even then though, that can give me some chill out at one point, especially I don't have to go through all these frustrating challenges every now and then. And we've now managed to go ourselves some carrots, which are essentially these collectibles in this particular level so far. Well, at least as far as for this particular location, if I do say so for myself there. So anyway, let's go ahead and knock out this little, another carrot right there that drops in from the tree. Seriously, it makes it so weird how the fact that, the carrots do usually pops out from the trees like this. But anyway though, enough about this little, logic. But anyway, what was I trying to say about the forms of the Mario Party 11 is about to be, rumored, and the forms of, scheduling to be released on, 2019. Because normally back in, E3 2011, that informs of how the fact that from the Nintendo's E3 press conference in 2011, that so far you might actually notice that it did first announce Mario Party 9 in the forms of E3 2011, and then they're expecting to release that game in the forms of 2012, which is roughly the exact same year as when the London 2012 Olympic Games officially started. And that could be also the same applies for you know, Mario Party 10, because Mario Party 10 first came out, or first announced even, in the forms of in E3 2014, in the forms of Mario Party 10, and expecting to be releasing in that game in the forms of 2015. Which, I think that could be the same applies for the exact same system as the forms of Mario Party 11 for the Switch, which can be a little bit more sense, because even then though, that if they did announce Mario Party 11 in during the forms of E3 2018 at one point, and they're expecting to actually let us wait until that game is about to be coming out in the forms of 2019. So, usually it's an odd pattern here. Well, the only noticeable exception in the forms of the NDQ Mario Party titles is that, normally Mario Party Island Tour did originally came out, or it did first announce it back in the forms of, well, let's just say Nintendo Direct in April at some time in 2013, but in forms of the Year of Luigi Special 2, but in forms of how the fact that originally this game was normally calling as just Mario Party for the 3DS, which usually is the forms of the first ever Mario Party game to be released on the 3DS, but normally back in during the likes of 2013 around in November, that North America got that game first, and then we have to wait until when it forms of when our Mario Party Island Tour was about to be released during the forms of January 2014, and that could be the same applies for Japan and Australia as well, but even then though, Japan only gets that game last. Oh, by the way, we got ourselves Granny Smith, which can be the same applies for how the fact that, well, that could be based off on the Apple family reunion, but in forms of Applejack's parents. So naturally, we got come across into those guys here. Okay, so now we've got the windmill part, but in forms of the stained glass window pieces. I think it's about time to do one more level, don't you think? Yeah, because eventually the levels themselves, again, they can get really long. Eventually even much more longer as soon as we're able to actually get ourselves the last few pieces throughout. So, which one we might as well go for here? We might as well go back to Manhattan right here. See, Fernando, don't worry, we'll get to Cloudsdale, and especially Canterlot especially. And we'll replace Rainbow Dash with the forms of Pinkie Pie, and everything else should be all checked. So, let's get to it. If you those of you probably wondering what this music background is from, if you remember from Commander My 456 Let's Play on this particular, well, not this game, but in forms of the every other Sonic games, including the likes of Mario games especially, you probably recognize this music. It's his favorite song. Man, I love that tune. I always kept on, like, becoming very quiet whenever that particular, vocal theme comes into play, because it always reminds me of the Commander My 456's intro every now and then. So anyways, we got our next collectible, which appears to be, hoof shoes, if I recall correctly, or this horseshoes, I should say. But anyway, though, yeah, among with, the Pokemon the movie I Choose You, which came out exactly the same day as when the actual My Little Pony the movie 2017 version came out during yesterday, and that could be the same applies for the forms of the Lego Ninja Gun movie, which even though out of all the Lego games that we actually did manage to talk through, the Lego Ninja Gun movie is probably the weakest of the bunch for me. I don't know about you, though, Sonic, this is probably due to how the fact that it doesn't feel as, like, aesthetically pleasing. Although, don't get me wrong, the presentation still looks very awesome, like the forms of the, like the ones in the original Lego movie. Especially noticeable with, the Lego Batman movie. But, it's just that it just feels kind of underwhelming for me. That's only because of how the fact that we're so used to with other franchises that we're used to at this point. But not so much for any others. But again, that's probably just a nitpick. But anyway, though, I guess that's probably have to be safe at this point, folks. But even then, again, there's not much else we can actually talk for this point, because there are still no luck elements of the forms of Nintendo Directs to be signed all over the place. I mean, usually I keep on researching for those kinds of stuff, and none of them seems to happen. Well, as far as I've noticed, they're trying to able to actually make some predictions, but in forms of a couple of days' notice. But then eventually, during the likes of, I would say, just today, or in this case, tomorrow, or in this case, the 15th of February, expecting that the Directs will happen, at least as far as I might be wrong. But again, it gets really rusty with all this little news in mind. But even then, though, because of how the fact that we've run out of ideas for discussions, first off, and plus not to mention, though, that, the way they're actually trying to announce some kinds of things. Oh, we got Big Macintosh, which usually it calls Big Macintosh Big Mac for short, so it makes it pretty obvious, and seems more accurately, Big Mac is yet another part of the family of the forms of Applejack's family, so that makes it pretty obvious here. Alright, so now we obtained the actual building piece for the stained glass window, and that can be placed in Rarity stained glass window. And let's just say that right now, we're gonna have to end things off for this point right here. So, join us next time on Let's Play My Little Pony, My Little Pony Harmony Quest for the iOS/Android devices. It's the fact that we're going to be still continue on grabbing those stained glass windows, and everything else will be double checked fine. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas.